Hey everyone, what's going on? This is Dom, back with another video. It's been a while. Just decided to make a video about the M11-P that I had purchased like a few weeks ago. So I'm a beginner photographer. One of my first cameras was the Sony A6100, and I took that with me on my trip to Iceland, took it with me to Peru. Is when I was like having like the traveling bug in my 30s, and I was just going different places, and that camera was everywhere with me. And then that was the first time I really enjoyed taking photos, and I, kind of wanted to start taking I started treating photos like art, I guess. And I wouldn't say I was good, but it was enjoyable to do. So fast forward, back in November 2024, I turned 40. You can watch my video about turning 40 if you want. But when I turned 40, it kind of entered a little midlife crisis, and I was like, oh well, I want a hobby. Just started buying things that I had no business buying, spending money that I had no business spending. All electronics, all things that ultimately I can either sell back or return, which I pretty much have. But when I turned 40, one of the things I really wanted was a Leica Q343. I don't know what really drew me to the Leica brand, because before that I really had Sony's. I had a Fuji. I think that's what it was when I got the Fuji X100V some years back. It was between the Fuji or a Leica, because I kind of just thought Sony's cameras were a little bit boring for me, and I wanted something that was kind of like exciting, and it looked nice and it felt great in the hands and everything. And so when I got the Fuji, that's what it did. But I always had in the back of my mind kind of wondering like what the Leica experience was. I went to the Leica store in Boston, tried out the Leica Q3, took some photos with it, and I liked it. And then so a year later, when I'm about to turn 40, I was like, okay, I think that's what my camera is going to be. So I really wanted it. Financially, I couldn't make it happen. So then in February of 2025, I ended up getting the Fuji X106. So after I had my experience with the Fuji X106, which was a great experience, I really enjoyed it. But after that experience, Fuji announced that they were going to drop a medium format camera that was in the same vein of the X100 series cameras. So I hopped on that because I've been really drawn to medium format for a while. I just like the images that come out of medium format cameras. I had it for 2 months and I enjoyed my time with that one. But it kind of felt like when you go to a restaurant, you open up the menu, you know what you want, but then you start looking at the menu, start second guessing, and then you get something else that wasn't originally what you wanted. And then you have it and it's like you're happy with it, but you're always kind of like left wondering, how come I didn't get that thing that I wanted? And so once I realized okay, I kind of want a Leica, I was thinking about selling the 100R, even though I really was enjoying it. So I found myself in the Leica store a few times. One time I went in there, and one of the Leica employees told me about a workshop that was free to learn how to zone focus using an M-style camera. I've never used a rangefinder in my life. I've always heard if you go to a Leica Q, then you're going to want to get a rangefinder at some point and yada, yada, yada. So I really didn't think anything of it, but I tried to use it in the store that day and it was like, that's cool. But then I was like, you know what, let me just go to that workshop. And it was like a 3-hour workshop, which surprised me because it was a lot longer than I expected. But in any case, I ended up getting the M11 to use. And I had a 35 Summilux with it. And I learned how to zone focus. The guy who was teaching the class, his name's Phil, and he was amazing. It was really cool. It was a really cool class. And I just really enjoyed taking photos with the rangefinder. There was something that felt like intimate, felt like I felt connected to the process. Something that I've heard from YouTubers, but I just thought it was just fluff. And for me, it was just really satisfying. I always liked the OVF on the Fuji X100 series cameras, even though I didn't really know how to use it well enough, but I just liked being able to see like the real world, you know. And so I really enjoyed that. And once I learned and understood how the focusing patch worked, and then I started understanding why zone focusing can be really helpful and like speed up your process, it just made me feel connected to every single shot that I was taking. It slowed me down a bit more, but it just made me feel like I was involved with the decision making process. I wouldn't say the pictures I took were really spectacular or anything. Actually, I don't think they were really that good. I don't have many photos. But just the experience alone made me want to use the camera more. And then once I had that experience, I said, oh, I got to sell my 100 RF because, as much as I enjoyed it, it felt like every other camera I've used. I ended up selling it, and I moved heaven and earth to try to buy this camera here. I got it used for sure because I am not rich. I am just financially irresponsible. Hence the name of the channel, Bad Decisions. This is something that kind of scratched that itch that I had, which is when I was 40, I was like, I wanted one camera that felt like a piece, something that I can have for many, many years. And it'll serve me well, and I don't really have to worry about upgrading for a while. And I think I can get more involved in the process of taking a picture. And it looks beautiful. So I got a really, really good deal on it. So I was happy to get it. Now to talk about my experience with it so far, I'm still learning how to use it, honestly. I have to remember and train myself to zone focus. I have to try to remind myself when I'm taking a picture to have my eye open so I can see everything else that's going on around me that might be entering the frame. I do not miss the autofocus, if that makes any sense. Like, it's one of those things that I know I can go back to. Like, I can get a camera that has that. It's like right now, it just makes me interested in learning photography more, and I'm learning more about the exposure triangle. I would have had to learn that anyway, right? But there's a certain elegance and simplicity to the menu, to the buttons and the options here that kind of just simplify the decision-making process for me when it comes to taking a picture. And I'm a person that's a big overthinker, and I get paralysis by analysis. So having something that's a lot more simplified, where there's just a few dials on here, and all I have to focus on is like the aperture and the focus, it just allows me to kind of concentrate a little bit more, and learn to be patient. So I've been taking a few photos. Again, nothing crazy. I'm still in that phase of just like testing out the camera and seeing like how I can get something in focus. But I will say, anytime went back at my pictures, a lot of the pictures were blurry, but with the few that were in focus, like it felt really satisfying to nail the focus. I felt like I created that. Like, I had to put in work and earn that photo. That sounds weird. I don't necessarily attribute that to Leica. That's most likely just the nature of a rangefinder. And if people that use film cameras, I'm sure, have the same experience as well. Probably more so with film because you have to develop everything. But it just made me feel so much more part of the process, that every single time that I use it, I don't know what I'm going to get. And I try not to look at the live view after I take a picture. Like, I don't go back and like look at my photos. I try not to. I try to wait till I get home, or I get back to my iPad where I can then upload it. So the photo taking process is really beautiful and nice. And the shutter has this nice little sound to it. It's soft. It's not too noticeable when you're out in public. One thing I will say, actually, that I do like about having like a rangefinder or like a camera that takes manual lenses, right, is I like being able to swap out lenses. I never thought I would like that because I've always gravitated towards fixed lens cameras for the most part, outside of the Leica SL2S. But I feel like I'm going to learn how I see the world. Right now, I feel like I'm a 35 person, but I don't have a 35 mil yet. I have a 50, and then I have, because I like trying to take portraits, and I have a 28 Elmerit. But I would like to be able to get like a Summilux or a Summicron down the line. And I just feel like over some time, if I get money and, life is good to me, then I can like add on and get lenses and sell some and stick with one for a few months and things like that. So I like that switchability. I like that adaptability. I like how malleable the experience is for anyone. Again, this is probably way more camera than I need as a beginner photographer. I'm not a dentist, but I wanted to treat myself, and I'm happy that I did get it. I think the live view is really cool on this. I do use it too when I want to focus and like trying to look for the outline. I keep it in black and white, like high contrast, so it's easier. And that's what I just been mainly taking, is a lot of black and white photos. And then on the DNGs, I'll put them in Lightroom, and then I'll play with the color after the fact. But I'm seeing the world in color when I'm looking through the rangefinder. But if I'm using the actual screen, it's a little bit different. It's high contrast, black and white, simply because it allows me to see better. And I can just focus on composition. So again, I feel like it just is stripping down a lot of the things that I tend to overthink, and it's only giving me so many options, which is what I like. And the same thing with like, there's no video on this. And before, it's like I'm switching between video and it's like, I know when I pick this up, it's because I want to take photos. I'm not I don't have that camera where it's like, oh, just in case, let me just bring it. It's like, I am intentional when I bring it, and it's like I have work to do. It's like a hobby for me. Just like, people that, build model trains or do woodworking, painting, anything like that. There's this intentionality that comes with having a camera like this for me, where it's like a hobby, and it's like, okay, I want to work on my craft today. I'm going to go do this. So I do like it. And, please drop in the comments anything that I should know about using it. Like, I want to start playing with how to get some better JPEGs out of it. Right now, I don't feel like they're that crazy, but it's also forcing me to learn how to use Lightroom. Again, it's just having me be a little bit more involved. When I had the 100 RF, I was playing with the recipes, which I really loved, but it kind of took away some of those creative decisions that I know that I'm now forced to kind of make with this, where it's like, I just took the picture, but now what? Okay, now I got to process it. I do like, Vivian Mayer, and I like Gordon Parks' photos a lot, but I don't have a bunch of photographers that I follow, or that like whose work I follow and everything like that. But I do like Gordon Parks a lot, and I'm like, okay, I kind of want to get that kind of look when I'm taking pictures. Okay, let me go play with that in Lightroom and see what I can get. So it's just having me be a little bit more in tuned and locked in on what I'm doing, which is what I enjoy. So if there's any tips you guys want to give me while I begin my photography journey, I'm all ears. Just wanted to share my quick thoughts. I'm sure I'll have another video, and I will also be in the comments below, kind of answering any questions, or taking in any kind of feedback. Thanks for watching. Peace.